Welcome to Hello Me, It's Me, Vulnerable AF, a podcast hosted by Nikki D. Lovely. That's really just her diary disguised as a podcast, but who cares? You're here for it. Join in as she addresses her self-reflections on life, love, and dating, and gives us all the tea by being more vulnerable than she ever has, with herself and the world. So let's get started in today's episode with Nikki D. Lovely, already in progress.
All right. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hello Me, It's Me, Vulnerable as F, the podcast where I am basically talking to myself, trying to be as vulnerable as possible in hopes that my vulnerability will inspire you to be vulnerable too. For those of you guys who are new to me and who don't know, I used to be a former avoidant, a fearful avoidant, actually. If you know anything about attachment styles, I was afraid to be vulnerable. I was afraid to get close to people because that meant having to be vulnerable, that meant intimacy, that meant opening up. And I was afraid to do that because I hadn't even touched on the things that I needed to touch on within myself. Anyway, that was a brief overview of me and who I am. Of course, I'm more than just that. I am a mother. I am a teacher. I am a person who believes in healing, and I like to pass on what I know and what I've learned to other people who don't have the resources that it takes, I guess, in order to do the healing work that they need. So, all that being said, let's move right along. I want to thank you guys for tuning in again. If you are a person who is coming back again, I want to thank you for showing back up. As I have mentioned before, we were in the top, I don't even remember what it was. All I know is that we grew 90 something percent more than any other podcast last year. And I appreciate the help. I appreciate you just being here. And on that note, what I want to talk about today, now let's just jump right into it. I want to talk about asking for what you want. I've been posting a lot on threads about my daughter recently and how I have been trying to teach her to ask for what she wants. And there have been two occasions within the last 2 months where I have had a conversation with her about opening up her mouth and asking for what she wants. The first one was the one with the Chick-fil-A, and they gave her cold fries. And she was afraid to go back and ask the Chick-fil-A people for warmer fries. And I said, you better get back over there and do this. She's like, no, can you do it for me? And I said, no, you have to learn how to do it. And the reason why I made her do it and I didn't just get up there and go do it myself is because one of the things that I had a problem with growing up was communicating my own needs. And usually that happens when, for a lot of us growing up as millennials, in old school environments, you, as a child, you're seen and you're not heard. And so, unfortunately, what happens with that is you carry that with you as you become an adult. I learned to quiet my needs. I learned to not speak up. I was afraid of the repercussions of, what's mommy going to say? What's daddy going to say? And then you take that out into the real world and you don't learn how to speak. And even with my daughter was raised with, I hate to say, with me and her grandparents. But for most of her younger life, we stayed with them. And so you wind up going back to the same dynamics of, being seen and not heard and making sure you follow the rules, the old school rules of not talking back, not really saying what you feel. And then you wind up having repressed feelings and you don't know how to ask for what you want. So again, I wanted to teach her how to ask for the things that she wanted. And so it was good practice. Go back there and ask for some warm fries. It's Chick-fil-A. What are they going to do? They want to help you, right? So that's exactly what she did. They gave her warm fries and, there she has it. She got warm fries. And then the second experience happened recently too. It was cookie from Crumble. They didn't make the cookie right. And so I told her, I said, you know what? And go back there and ask for the correct cookie. It doesn't hurt to ask. Is this the correct cookie? Maybe she had an idea of what the cookie was supposed to be and we just got it wrong. So she goes back. She asks for a new cookie. They tell her, yeah, we didn't make the cookie right. Would you like a new one? You have any other one you want? She was like, "No, I'm good. I just wanted to know if, this was how it was supposed to be made." She could have got 2 cookies, but she didn't. She just went ahead and took what she had. But that wasn't the point. The point was I wanted her to go back there and just at least ask. And because she at least asked, then now she is able to start the process of learning how to ask for what you want. And I will say that as girls, as women especially, we are taught to be easy and quiet and just grateful for whatever we get. And, boys are, they can put up a fuss and make a ruckus. And if you do it, you're considered a Karen. But at the end of the day, we all deserve to get what we want. And especially when you're going to an establishment and you're ordering things and you're willing to leave a review to get paid to do reviews. As a reviewer, I know that we are actually taught to, and this probably helped me a lot as well in asking for what I want, learning how things work, learning how things operate. If you don't know, and I didn't learn this until I started becoming a reviewer, in the restaurant industry, when you review, if there is a mistake, you are asked to have them correct the mistake. In some instances, most instances actually, you do want to give the establishment the opportunity to correct this mistake because you want to see how they handle it. Are they going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, here's a free X, Y, and Z," or "Let me make that over for you," or "I'm sorry, you pay for it, you buy. That's what you get." I've had some of that happen sometimes too, and that's really bad customer service. But most establishments want to make it right. They don't want a nasty review at the end. They don't want to say, "Oh, please come back so that we can make this right." They would prefer that you come to them at that moment and say, "This is cold. This doesn't taste good. There's plastic in my taco," something of that nature. Instead of just saying, "Oh my goodness, there was plastic in the taco," or "the taco meat was cold," give them an opportunity to correct the mistake. And at the end, you're also learning how to ask for what you want. So I want us, especially as women who are listening to this, and I'm sure there are also some men, because I have run into men who have been raised that same way of being seen and not heard, and still not knowing how to speak up and letting people talk over them and letting people speak for them. In these instances, I would like to challenge you to start with the little things because I've noticed most people who are people pleasers all the way around. Is not just at home, it's also when you're out. So go ahead and start with the little things, and you'll notice that you'll start asking for more later. There's two things that made me think about this, about asking for what you want. There's one thing that really pressed me to tell my daughter, "Listen, you need to start asking for what you want." And she knows this. I tell her this story all the time. She's probably tired of hearing this story. And the story goes, I had my daughter, she's about 2 years old. We were at the mall and it was busy everywhere. The lines are busy. And I said, "You know what? Why don't I just go into a restaurant and sit down?" Because, it was so busy, I wasn't going to find any place to sit anyway. So I decided to go sit down and, well, I'm seated basically. And I ordered a salad and chicken nuggets because we were hungry and I figured that'd be the quickest thing that we could get. Well, one family sat down. It was a family of 5. They sat down, they ordered, they got their food, they ate it. I remember specifically because one of the women there actually shared a french fry with my daughter because she could tell she was so hungry. And she was like, "Wow, you guys were here before us and we already have our food." And they left as we were still sitting there waiting. Nobody came to check on me. Nobody asked me about my food. It was so busy. I could have got up and left, but I didn't. Something in me was like, "Well, no, I'm sitting here, so I might as well stay." No, my ass should have got up and left, and I didn't. So I sat there. Finally, they had seated somebody else by the time the waiter came back and was like, "Hey, so how's your food?" I was like, "We don't even have our food. Our food's not even here." And so she just looked and like, "Oh." And then she didn't apologize or anything. She just ran to the kitchen. They came back with a salad and cold chicken nuggets. And I never saw her again until I think it was time for the bill. And you know what I did? I didn't complain. I sat there and I ate my cold chicken nuggets and I sat there, we ate the cold fries. And I left that restaurant so disgusted and so disappointed in myself because I allowed them to just basically, in my opinion, walk all over me. They didn't offer to comp it. They literally just threw the food down and left. Now that restaurant isn't even there anymore because and I'm so glad because every time I go there and I see that the restaurant's not there, I at least feel halfway decent because if that restaurant was still there, I think I would every day I would be so upset. But I learned a valuable lesson and that is I didn't ask for what I wanted. If I couldn't even ask for what I wanted, how could I just think that they were going to offer me great service? Now, of course, that's what you expect when you go to a restaurant. You expect them to just offer you great service, but they didn't. And so the least I could have did in that situation was what? Ask for what I wanted. And I know most people are gonna be like, oh hell no, I would not have been sitting there waiting for 2 hours for no chicken nuggets and a salad. And listen, I was a different person back then. I was probably around 24, I think, at the time. And I was very timid. I was very, I don't want to say shy, but life had beaten me down by that point. Like I was going through a lot. First, a baby, 2 year old, life I just did not expect to be living at that time and on top of not being able to ask for what I want. We don't have that problem anymore. However, it did take me a while to get here because I will say it was probably about 7 years ago. I was dating a guy, and I will say he was the one who really put this into perspective too. Is like I wanted to be with this guy, or so I thought. And we had the conversation, and he said I was starting to catch feelings, and I don't know where he was in it, but we were supposed to have a conversation that night. He asked me, he goes, "So what do you want?" And I'm just quiet because I was scared. Again, we're talking about somebody who's afraid to ask for what they want. So, of course, I'm afraid to ask. And I'm just quiet. I'm hoping he's going to tell me. Again, just like going into the restaurant, hoping they're going to make things okay. I'm hoping he's going to tell me how he feels. And he just sits there quietly. It's just like crickets. Like, we're just looking at each other. And then finally he goes, Nikki, I can't give you what you want if you don't ask me for it. Woo! Mic drop. That was my mic drop lesson. And I literally had to think for a second. I said, Nikki, is this really what you want? Because at the time, like, he really wasn't in a place for him to be like my man, my boo, my boyfriend, or whatever, but I just liked him. But I think deep down I knew like he wasn't my husband or anything. So I didn't ask, but it was because it wasn't what I wanted. But I realized in that moment he was right. The beginning of receiving anything is at least to ask. All right, so I know we touched on this earlier, but there is a lot of conditioning that takes place as females, especially. Girls are taught, don't be a problem, don't be needy, don't take up space. And so we shrink ourselves when it comes to these particular things. We want to make sure that we aren't a problem. We want to make sure that we aren't being bad. We want to be the nice girl. Boys are taught to ask for what they want. They're taught to negotiate. They're taught to push. They're taught to try again. They're taught to toughen up, keep going, and who said you could stop? They're pushed to do this. But I'm not going to lie again when I tell you that those things turn into adult patterns. But here's what happens when we don't ask. We have resentment. We have people that can't meet your needs because they don't know what your needs are. A lot of times we think people should read our mind. Like I thought the restaurant should just caught me, but it was a new girl. She was young. I remember looking at her thinking, this girl doesn't know any better. And she probably didn't. Or there could have been a vast reasons, any other reasons why, right? At the end of the day, I think one of the biggest things I learned about, trying to be too nice is you resent it in the end. You resent it. You try to tell yourself, oh, it's okay. I'm not bothered. But when you really think about it in the long run, you are. You are tremendously bothered. You're lying. when you say that you're not bothered. You're bothered. You're bothered. You are bothered like nobody's business. You are bothered to the umpteenth ism. You are lying to yourself when you say that you're not bothered. You're lying to other people when you say that you're not bothered. I will give you an example myself. I had a friend, we went out to eat, and she only ate like American food, Americanized food. And we were in this beautiful beach town, and there were so many different places to eat, but she was like, "Where's the chicken nuggets?" or "Where's the hamburger?" And I was so mad because I wanted to try something else. But instead of saying, like, you eat there and I eat here, I was trying to be like very nice and say, she said, "What do you want to eat?" And I was like, "It doesn't matter. You pick because I know I can eat anywhere." And she's like, "Well, I'm simple. I'm simple." But it wasn't simple because now we had to go look for hamburgers and pizzas or chicken nuggets or whatever it was. And the one place she did want to go that was okay, was a very expensive restaurant, and I was on a budget, so I was just really PO'd, but I couldn't let it show, so I remember just, like, biting my tongue and being like, "Whatever." I gave in because I was trying to be nice, but it didn't come across nice because I resented the fact that I had to give up what I wanted to do. So, you have to be careful when you are silencing yourself because even though you think you're being nice, at the end of the day, you're really lying. You're lying to your friends. You're lying to yourself. You're lying. So you might as well just go ahead and tell the truth. Just go ahead and tell the truth. Go ahead and ask for what you want. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying to your friends. Just stop it. Just stop it. And here's another reason why. Not only are you lying to yourself, but there is a price that your nervous system is paying every time you say you don't want something, even though you really do. Besides the disappointment that you're eating, right? Because you're afraid to get up there and ask for what you want, there is that nervous system that's saying that you are unsafe, that you were dismissed in your past. And now you're bringing that into your adulthood, where now is a time where you were actually allowed to speak up for yourself. So you have to start practicing those little things, right? You can't be afraid of punishment anymore. You can't be afraid of the rejection. You can't be afraid of the ridicule. And of course, yes, maybe you are. But think about the fact the reason why you're afraid of that stuff is because of what you felt as a child. And you're no longer that child. You are an adult. And as an adult, you do have to start relearning how to stand up for yourself. And it's kind of hard because, especially if nobody taught you how to do that. Maybe you saw your parents do it. That's usually like the best way you can kind of pretend, maybe. I know this Beyonce has Sasha Fierce where she pretends she's someone else. Maybe you can just pretend, like an out of body experience where you pretend like, you're your mom when you saw her go up there and ask for things, or your dad when you saw him say, "I'm tired of this, blah, 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 blah." You may have to ignite that within yourself if you can't find that for yourself. But again, you start small. You start off with the food, you start off with asking for help. That was a big one for me. It used to be really hard for me to ask for help, but a lot of that had to do with shame and guilt and thinking I should be able to do this by myself. But that also puts you back. It also puts you back, and you resent too that you have to do everything by yourself. So you have to learn how to start asking for what? Asking for what you want. Rest is the same thing. When somebody asks you to take on an extra shift at work and you know you're really tired, you don't really need the extra money. You really do need the rest, but you don't want to, again, it's that I want to be nice. I want to be nice, everybody. You want to be Mr. Nice Guy or Mrs. Nice Woman. You're going to have to start learning how to say no. No is a full sentence, and I would advise you to just practice using it. You can just say no. My mom tells me my dad has a no day or a yes day, where everything is either yes or everything is just no. So maybe you too can just choose a day where the answer is no to everything or the answer is yes to everything. I don't know. You pick it. But whatever it is, whatever they say, you're going to just commit to that just so you can practice saying the word no. So we'll just say no because you're already a yes person. So no, you're going to say no. No, 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 no. Okay. And just realize that what you're learning now and what you're relearning as you reparent yourself is what you're teaching your children, right? So they're watching you. They're watching everything that you do. And just like I had to teach mine or reteach mine because I had to relearn as an adult, I had to go back and reteach her. She's not as old as I was when I learned how to use my voice. But, you don't know. A lot of us aren't self aware enough to realize what we're teaching our children. And I want you to take this moment to just ask yourself, what am I teaching my kids by not showing up? What am I teaching my kids by not showing up for myself? What am I teaching my kids by not asking for what I want? What am I teaching them about how they get to ask for what they want or don't want? And even allow them to practice because, especially if there's that parent child dynamic, they may have the same problem as they get older. And we want to make sure we absolve them of that now. Okay. So I just want you to know that your needs are valid. It's okay to have them. Boundaries are not rude, and asking does not make you hard to love. Asking for what you want does not make you a bad person. Okay? And I'll leave you guys with a homework assignment. I already told you I want you to say no. You can pick a day, you can just have a no day. But the other thing is, I want you to ask for one thing today. It could be something small. I want to challenge you to ask for something you may not normally ask for, whether that be asking your partner to give you a back massage or a foot massage or uh, asking, your parents for an extra $20. I don't know. You think of what something that would be a reach for you right now. And I want you to notice how your body feels when you think of asking for this thing that you typically would not ask for. I want you to notice, how does your body feel in this moment? Do you feel anxious? Do you feel scared? Do you feel the fear? I want you to feel that fear. I want you to feel that anxiousness, and I want you to do it anyway. Okay? Nobody's judging you. I just want you to observe how you feel in this moment, and I want you to push through it. Okay? I want you to leave me some comments too, whether or not you did this, because I'm very curious to see how much we push past this part. And in closing, I like to do a hello, me is me. Now, basically, at this point, what I want to say is I am proud of how far you have come. There's probably still a little bit more work you can be doing. I had an idea of some things I wanted to ask for, and I started to feel the fear. Now I have these big things, and it's called Delulu season. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, where you think about the most delusional thing you can think about, and then think, okay, how can I ask for this? How can I get these wants? How can I get these needs? I've been thinking about a lot of delusional things lately, like traveling overseas, writing a few books, making sure I get those things done, and asking for help to get those things done. And even as I say that, I'm feeling like the fear, right? I'm feeling the nervousness come up. And because of that, I'm feeling that, can I ask for this? But yes, I can. And so I gave you the task. I'm going to give myself the task too. And that's my Delulu task. But for the most part, for my future self, I do want to say that I am proud of you because the fact that we're getting to delusional asking is a good thing, given that there was a point in time where you were scared to ask for what you wanted. But the more you practice, the more you started like, oh, okay, I got this. The more proud of you. I mean, I really can't say anything else besides I'm proud of you. And just keep doing it. Keep doing it. Keep going. And I can't wait to see like how delusional this year is going to be for you, how much of the delusional stuff you actually get done. Okay? And on that note, if you want to be a part of the delusional year too, basically, I think you write down, I don't know, all I'm doing is I'm writing down about 100 delusional things I want to do. And I'm just scratching it off for the year. That's it. And then you just want to see how much of the most delusional things you can do. Like, I want to go to space. I want somebody to donate $100,000. Or I was like, for me, I want to move to another country and be able to write. That's my quote unquote most delusional thing. I really don't think it's delusional, but for me right now, it's not where I am. So, is where I want to be. So there it is. But again, asking is not entitlement. It is just the first step to receiving what you want. So, in order for you to get what you want, you need to first know what you want. And like my boy said, I can't give you what you want if you don't even know how to ask for it. So, on that note, I just want to again thank you guys for being here. I look forward to hearing all the stories about all the things, all the great asks, and all the things that you've gotten from asking. If you don't follow me already, follow me on Threads. That's where I do a lot of my writing. I have a YouTube, I have a TikTok, I have an Instagram, but Threads and TikTok right now are mostly where I'm posting consistently. It's kind of hard to keep up with everything. And then YouTube is where I kind of put everything together, including my podcast. So then there's also Substack. Guys, there's just so much. There is so much social media stuff at this point. But anyway, on that note, still, I'm talking you guys' heads off. I just want to say again, I appreciate you being here. And I hope you guys have a wonderful week until next week, because we are doing this weekly. So another one of those things I said I was going to make sure we're going to be consistent on. I will see you guys next week. All right. And in the meantime, don't forget, ask for what you want.
Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Hello Me, It's Me with Nikki D. Lovely. Just remember, you can't change who you were yesterday, but you can always learn and grow to become a better version of yourself today. So make sure you do the mental work today for the future you tomorrow, and I will see you next week. And in the meantime, make sure that you check me out on my Instagram at Nikki D. Lovely. You can also find me at nikkidlovely.com and check out my book, No F Boys Allowed. Just a little shameless plug. But either way, I will see you guys next time, and thanks again. Bye.